Welcome back to my channel. I am going to go through the 10 books I have out from the library and make some decisions about which ones are going back and which ones I'm gonna read. In full transparency, I did just preview this video over on a TikTok live. So if you were in that TikTok live and then you see this video, you're gonna be like, why is she acting like she didn't do this already? Because I did actually do that. I'm gonna do it again, so I have for the content of it, but also because I'm not totally sure that I agree with my decisions. So second time's a charm. I don't know if you guys have the same struggle that I have, where you go to the library and you check out a bunch of books and they all sound wonderful at the time, or the covers look like they're going to be wonderful, and then you realize that you're just renewing them without reading them, and then you decide that you're just going to take them all back because that would be the responsible adult thing to do, and then you read the summaries or you look at them and you find that it's really hard just to give them back without reading them. If that's you, and basic advice is useful to you, where it is completely not useful to me, I would just like to say, take those books back. You can always check them out at a different time. You don't have to be greedy and a book hoarder. The library is there for you now and in the future. Unless, of course, you live in one of these states where they're letting people dictate who gets to close down libraries because of book banning. But that's a whole different issue, right? So I have 10 books. We're gonna go through them and you'll see how I end up deciding. But if you have recommendations or you've read any of these books and you're like, can you immediately go back to the library and check that book out and read it ASAP, please drop that in the comments, because it's, don't spoil anything, obviously, but if you see anything that I take back that's really worth the read, let me know. Okay. Let's see what Mabel's gonna do. I don't know if she's gonna start scratching at the door to get out. You can see her scratch marks right there because she's a pain in my ass. All right, let's start with the easy one. This is The Girl in Red. I've already read it. It's definitely going back. This is a book about a young woman who is a horror movie fan. She is not obsessed, but at least a little bit obsessed with things like how to survive apocalypses. When a virus breaks out in her country, I think she lives in the US. When a virus breaks out, she starts training to get away, and like she packs a bag, a survival bag. She's disgusted with her family, who acts like nothing is really wrong. Of course, they have to leave, and she does have a red coat, and they are trying to get to her grandmother's house. The wolf idea in this book is really more about the imagery and a little metaphorical, but there are no actual like werewolves or anything like that in this book, which I was a little bit disappointed about, but that's okay. I would say there's also like a subplot, or not subplot, but sort of like this weird creature thing going on that's just largely unnecessary. But maybe it's tying into, like, I think I just made a connection with the original Little Red Riding Hood story about why that creature might be included in this book, but it's not tied in well and it's not resolved. So there you go. But it was quick. I liked it. It's definitely going back. Another book that I think is definitely going back, but I had it in my maybe pile for a while, was Black Candle Women. This book is obviously a cover grab. Look at it. It is so gorgeous. It's written by Diane Marie Brown. Generations of Montrose women, Augusta, Victoria, Willow, have lived together in their quaint two-story bungalow in California for years. They keep to themselves, they never venture far from home, and their collection of tinctures and spells is an unspoken bond between them. The rest of the summary goes on to talk about another of the Montrose women who comes home and brings a man. And so these women have to tell her that there's a family curse in which everybody they fall in love with dies. Their surprise guest forces each woman to reckon with their own past choices and mistakes. And as new truths about the curse emerge, the family is set on a collision. I don't know what that was. The family is set on a collision course dating back to a voodoo shop in 1950s New Orleans, French Quarter, where a hidden story is in a mysterious book may just hold the answers they seek in life and love. So it sounds good. It sounds like something I'm definitely going to be interested in sort of in the long run. Especially, I love Black Witches. Like, shout out to Black Witches. I love New Orleans settings. I love the voodoo thing. It's just not grabbing me right now. That's why it's in the maybe pile, and it's such a strong maybe. But I've got 10 books out. My goal is to take back at least 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So I'm going to put it back in the maybe pile. I had moved it to the take it back pile, but after reading it, it might be back. Okay. Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club, a novel by J. Ryan Straddle. This book is about, based on the summary, a woman who has a restaurant that is not doing well, a mom who is not doing well, and a husband who currently is having an identity crisis. And then her husband also apparently is heir to a restaurant or a diner, and he thinks his diner is better than her restaurant. In the aftermath of a devastating tragedy, Ned and Mariel lose almost everything they hold dear. Can they find a way to rebuild their lives? And will the Lakeside Supper Club be their salvation? In this vanishing world of relish trays and brandy old-fashioned, New York Times bestselling author J. Ryan Straddle has given us a story full of his signature winning, honest yet fallible Midwestern characters as they grapple with love, tragedy, hardship, and hope, and what their legacy will be when they are gone. That sounds interesting. Contemporary, sort of character-driven, all of that stuff. I don't care about it right now. It's definitely going back. This book is also going back. I love this cover. I love this author. I just don't want to read it right now. So if I were to force myself to read this, I would also be annoyed because it's over 520 pages long. So I'm going to take it back, but I'm going to keep it on my to-read list with a plan to check it out again some other time. It's basically the story of 3 young people who are trying to figure out how to keep their world together because they're on the verge of a war. Eric, Liv, and Regine's journeys converge in New Jotunheim, a paradise fueled by magic and the sight of the temple. They soon realize that a great evil lurks beneath the dazzling surface, and that old betrayals and long-held grudges may fuel another cataclysmic war. It will require every gift and weapon at their command to prevent it. So that was the very last little paragraph of the summary inside the jacket. I love Cinda Chima. I think she does a beautiful job telling stories and creating worlds and making me care about characters. I will definitely come back to this, but it's going back. This one is tough. It is a collection of short stories by 10 authors, several of whom I've read books and loved by them before. It's called The Cursed Carnival and Other Calamities. It's from Rick Riordan. He's the editor. I'm going to guess, yep, it's also from his Rick Riordan Presents series, as are several of the authors in this book. I'm going to read the first part of the summary, and you can tell me what you think. If you could travel to an alternate universe, where would you go? to a magic bazaar where everyday errands turn into life-threatening quests? A tropical island cave that may be inhabited by a monster? A space academy where the systems are mysteriously malfunctioning? Or would you rather meet Gum Baby, a chupacabra puppy, a puny demon? Maybe you'd prefer to go to a cursed powwow or a haunted carnival. How about traversing ancient Ireland with a young outlaw? You can do all the above by reading the myth-based short stories in this collection. All but one of the heroes has previously starred in a popular Own Voices book from Rick Riordan Presents. So some of the authors are Carlos Hernandez, Roshani Chokshi, J.C. Cervantes, Kwame Mbalia, Rebecca Roanhorse, Rick Riordan. So lots of awesome authors. I love all of the ideas of those things at the top. I have this in the maybe pile, but it's such a strong maybe. So let's get to some of the things that I know I want to keep. All's Well by Mona Awad. A friend of mine just finished this and really enjoyed it. It's about a woman who is an actress, apparently, and there's an accident that causes her to have chronic pain, to lose her marriage, and to start using painkillers with increasing frequency. She is directing a college production of All's Well That Ends Well by Shakespeare, and apparently the students really want to do Macbeth instead and start sabotaging their current production. That's when she meets three strange benefactors who have an eerie knowledge of Miranda's past and a tantalizing promise for her future. One where the show goes on, her rebellious students get what's coming to them, and the invisible, doubted pain that's kept her from the spotlight is made known. So I'm really interested in this one. I love a theater-based story. I think there's going to be some chuckles, and a friend of mine recently read it and recommended it. So she's also a theater friend, so that's probably why she also liked it. It's in the keep pile. Another keep pile book is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a story about a woman who is able to predict to the day when someone will die. She wants to have a living wake for herself, which makes everybody think maybe she has foreseen her death, but that's not what she's telling people. She's not the only one with secrets. Her sisters are hiding things too, and the next generation, cousins Ona and Yadi, face tumult of their own. Spanning the 3 days prior to the wake, Family Lore traces the lives of each of the Marta women, weaving together past and present, Santo Domingo and New York City. Told with Elizabeth Acevedo's inimitable voice, this is an indelible portrait of sisters and cousins, aunts and nieces, one family's journey through their history, helping them better navigate all that is to come. Elizabeth Acevedo is definitely a writer that I trust to tell me a good story, and by the end of it, I'm going to be like, oh, in tears, and also really glad that I read it. So this is on the keep pile. Hawk Song by Amelia Atwater Rhodes is a book that I think was recommended through, not even directly to me, it was recommended in a book, or in a TikTok, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and I might not be remembering correctly, but if I'm remembering correctly, the TikTok creator was talking about a book they were reading that was about war that had spanned for so long that nobody really knew what the original reason for the war was. And somebody in the comments said that this was a really good book about that, and like what happens when they find out and the reason is no longer relevant and all that. It's really short. It's only about 240 pages. I think I can read this tonight before I go to bed, although it's almost 9 o'clock right now. And if I read it tonight, it doesn't count on my to keep, right? Right. That's how I'm going to think about it. So I'm really interested in reading this. I'm going to try and read it today. It's to keep. Kinda. Maybe I should not stick it on the pile. Okay. And then we have Grey Mist Fair. This is about a world in which kids, teens, people are told never to go into the forest, always stay on the path. A young tailor needs to go into the forest in order to get some berries to dye some fabrics, and she wanders off the path. Heike's mother, when she was alive, had warned Heike to stay on the road, for there are creatures in the woods that will steal you away and eat you up. There are creatures in the woods that will steal you away and eat you up. But deep in the woods, you might find the answers too. I really want to read this one. I love the cover. It's definitely a great book for the season. I'm already in spooky season, y'all. But you know, I read spooky all year. But I'm really interested in this one. This one is a strong maybe. Let's see how many we've got going on here. When I was doing this before, I had put Children of Ragnarok in the keep pile. And I've decided I'm going to send it back. So I've got 3 in the definitely taking it back pile, 3 in the maybe pile, and only 2 in the definitely keep pile, because I'm not counting Hot Song. I'm going to read it today. I promise. So then the final book is Marvelous by Molly Greeley. I definitely got this for the cover. I'm not even sure that I read the summary when I picked it up out of the library. And basically the summary says that we're set in 1547 and there's a young man, it says young boy, named Pedro Gonzalez, who lives on an island, and he is mercilessly ridiculed because he has hair growing all of it over his body from head to toe. He is sold into servitude to be the pet of a French, you know, noble or whatever, and he becomes the favored of the wife of the king. This is France. So, the wife of the king, Catherine de Medici, wants to find a woman to marry this little hairy man. And there is a merchant who has fallen on hard times and just happens to have a beautiful 17-year-old girl that he can give to this family if they relieve all of his debts, which obviously he does. So Catherine meets Pedro for the first time on their wedding day. Barely recovered from the shock of her father's betrayal, she soon finds herself christened Madame Sauvage by the royal courtiers and must learn to navigate the strange new world and the unusual man who is now her husband. Gorgeously written, heartbreaking, and hopeful, Marvelous is the portrait of a marriage, the story of a remarkable, resilient family, and an unforgettable reimagining of the world's most beloved fairy tales. Obviously, I want to read it because it's a reimagining of beloved fairy tales. Obviously, I'm already kind of irritated with the giving people away kind of thing. But I'm really interested in this one. So it is on the keep pile. I wonder, okay, on the back it says, in Marvelous, Greeley bridges 400 years and our own image-obsessed time with beautiful humanity, moving philosophy, and spellbinding prose. Marvelous proves how love is always what truly binds and saves us in the end. Okay. But I want to read it. So, my pile for definitely keep, not counting Hot Song, which does not count, is Marvelous, Family Lore, and All's Well. Which means that I can keep 2 of the maybe pile. In the maybe pile is this collection of short stories. The one about the girl who goes into the forest, and maybe there are some answers there. And one about the black witches in New Orleans who are maybe trying to stop a curse. I think it's a little bit of a toss-up. I think I'm going to put this one, take this one back. I can get it again another time. Okay, I'm going to send this one back. Taking this one back has been my plan for several days. It was my plan the first time I read through it. I'm going to stick with my instincts and just go with sending this one back. I'm going to put it on my list to get it again after I take these other ones back that I have to read first. Like, I have to read these books first. Okay. Which basically gives me these 2 teen books, which works out well in terms of balance. So the books I'm going to keep, the 5 books on my to keep list, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I'm going to keep Hawk Song, I'm going to keep Marvelous, I'm going to keep Family Lore, I'm going to keep All's Well, I'm going to keep Grey Mist Fair, and I'm going to keep The Cursed Carnival and Other Calamities. That was harder. That was hard. It was hard even though I'd gone through it once. Even though I'd done this already, it was still hard. And the list is different. So that's mood reading for you, people. Catch you on the next one.